let me check.
यूट्यूब पे भी हो गया.
Dr. Nisha ma'am, please you start because
has been joined.
Dr. Rajendra, because we follow the time and our chief guest is now Dr. Ma'am and our yeah.
So here on behalf of JCD College of Education SIRSA, to the one-day multidisciplinary online international seminar from webinar. Now I request Professor Dr. Jessica Sir to please give the welcome address to the keynote speaker of this session and the other speakers.
Thank you, Dr. Nisha ma'am. Now, Honorable Chief Guest, respected Dr. Samin Sharma, Managing Director, JCD Vidyapith SIRSA, Principal of Constituent College of JCD Vidyapith, and today international keynote speaker, Professor Veronica Sokwa, and other speaker, Professor Sushma Sharma, Professor Rajveer Singh Dalal, Professor Nivedita, Dr. Pramod Kumar, my colleagues, staff members, delegates, and students. It's my honor to welcome Dr. Sunil Sharma, Managing Director JCD SIRSA, and Chief Guest of the one-day international online seminar cum webinar on the theme Multidisciplinary Pedagogy Approaches and Preparation of Future Teachers for Online Teaching During COVID-19 Pandemic. Dr. Sunil Sharma is our mentor. She is gold medalist in MA as well as MPhil and having 23-year experience as a professor and 15 years as a principal. She has published various books and edited 10 volumes of Haryana Encyclopedia sponsored by the Haryana of Government of Haryana. She received various awards such as Vishisht Sahitya Seva Award by Haryana Sahitya Academy, Best Ratnakar Award by same. She is an eminent administrator and has been kind enough to guide and advise us whenever she is requested. Under her able guidance, our college has been able to organize this one-day international seminar from webinar. JCD that is growing fast towards quality and discipline under her able guidance. I am glad to have such personality among with us in this international online seminar from webinar. Welcome, ma'am. It's my honor privilege to welcome Dr. Veronica Veronica. She is the university professor and keynote speaker of this international webinar from online seminar. She is currently university professor with the Department of Mathematics and Computer Science, Faculty of Education, Crnva University in Crnva, Slovakia, and research professor with the Department of Media and Educational Informatics, Faculty of Informatics. It was Laurent University, Budapest, Hungary. Today she will deliver lecture on multidisciplinary pedagogy, pedagogical approaches and preparation of future teachers for online teaching during COVID-19 pandemic. She is an good administrator and I am glad to have such an eminent personality among us to deliver a inaugural talk in one-day international seminar from webinar. Welcome ma'am, welcome in India, welcome in international seminar from webinar. I would also like to welcome Dr. Sushma Sharma, former professor of special education, Department of Education, Kurukshetra University, Kurukshetra, former Dean Faculty of Education, former chairperson, Department of Education, and Department of Physical Education, Kurukshetra University, Kurukshetra. She worked as a member of Academic Council, National Institute for the Visuality Handicapped under Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Dehradun, and also member of Technical Advisory Committee, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Government of India, New Delhi. Welcome, ma'am. I would also like welcome Dr. Rajveer Singh Dalal, Professor and Head Department of Political Science, Central University of Haryana, Mendargarh, and worked as Dean Faculty of Social Sciences. He has published 127 papers in national and international journals. Welcome, sir. I would also like to welcome Dr. Nivedita, Professor and Chairperson, Department of Education, CDLU SIRSA. She is good academician and gold medalist in MA, B.Ed and M.Ed. She is Chief Editor and Editor of various journals of education. Welcome, ma'am. I would also like to welcome Dr. Pramod Kumar, Dean School of Education, Central University of Haryana. He has visited various countries like Germany, South Africa, Japan, and Canada, and presented various papers. Welcome, sir. I would also like to welcome distinguished delegates who have joined this seminar from webinar from various places all over the India and abroad. Finally, I would also like to welcome all the participants of the seminar from webinar. Without their gracious presence, this seminar from webinar would have not been possible. It's a matter of great pleasure and pride that JCD PG College of Education, a constituent college of JCD Vidyapit, which was started in 2004 and presently possesses an intake of 200 B.Ed students, 50 M.Ed seats, and 30 B.Ed special MR seats, and our college is accredited by NAC with A grade. The institute has always been committed towards providing quality education to students of this region. I once again welcome you all on this occasion. I once again welcome you all. Now I am introducing the today keynote speaker. Dr. Veronica Stoffa is currently University Professor with the Department of Mathematics and Computer Science, Faculty of Education, Trnava University in Trnava, Slovakia, and Research Professor with Department of Media and Educational Informatics, Faculty of Informatics, Ito Laurent University, Budapest, Hungary. She received the diploma and PhD degree in technical cybernetics from the Slovak University of Technology and Bratislava in 1974-1982 respectively, and the associate professor degree in technical cybernetics from the Army Academy, French Republic in 1984, and in teaching mathematics at Constantine and Philosopher University in Nitra in 2000. He received the degree of University Professor after an inaugural process in teaching mathematics at the last mentioned university in 2003. She worked as university teacher in various other positions, and her main research interests are oriented towards the computer modeling, simulation, and visualization of systems in different fields of science. She also deals with the use of artificial intelligence in computer modeling of the teaching and learning process. She is author or co-author of more than 350 publications, article in reviewed journals, proceeding of conferences, monographs, chapter in monographs, textbooks, etc. He is doctoral study supervisor in computer science at Itowas Laurent University in Budapest, in Hungary, in teaching informatics and faculty of education of Polski University of Olomouc, and a faculty of mathematics, physics, and computer science of Comenius University in Bratislava. Under her able leadership as a supervisor, 19 doctoral students successfully completed their doctoral study. She has been an invited speaker at several international conferences. Welcome, ma'am. Again, welcome, and again, once again, welcome you all in this occasion. And welcome to our chief guest, Dr. Sumin, ma'am. And welcome to all the delegates. Thank you. Thank you. You have given me this opportunity to welcome all the guests. Yeah. भाई तू क्या कर रहा है? उसको माइक कर दे, म्यूट कर दे तू, तेरे हाथ में है दो.
Seminar from webinar and Minister of JCD for group and Namaskar. I'm really delighted today to be associated going to celebrate, I would say, seminar organization with some multidisciplinary seminar touching on various aspects of artificial system. First of all, I would like to welcome our international speaker, Veronica Stokova, who Dr. Jana shares elegantly explained that what is a silver and what are outputs. She is a multifaceted personality, touching the computer also, mathematics also, education also, and artificial intelligence also. She is a part of basically engineering. So, ma'am, good afternoon, and I welcome you. It's a great song, I would say. I was going through the previous session also. I understand one very particular phrase. When the education system is twisted or twisted due to this pandemic mindset, it has twisted to rules to zone. What a fantastic phrase, I would say. Most people, when they go to online, also you are aware of distance education system. Everything will be on the online and internet only, through webinars and online pages. YouTubers never find the network in the whole world. But
अरे
timeless
एक ने निकाला भी किसी ने, राजगढ़ दलाल को इन करना है, एक को निकाल दी।
Okay.
certainly we have faced with such a
Request
problem
में राजू
where everything is on the laptop, everything is on the screen, everything is on the online, and
राजगढ़ दलाल आएगा, राजगढ़ दलाल।
Okay.
since I would say it's beneficial also because we have got an opportunity to see people around the world. Like you see, today we are having a look on, we were having an interaction with Veronica. Otherwise, I think it would have been a dream. So the education system has totally changed. And now, while handling and deciding the curriculum of education or the other syllabus, we will have quite very clearly that every time it have to face the situations
राजेंद्र ने क्या किया?
scenario. We have to create and develop powerful education system and our teachers. Because in education only
हेलो,
we are training the trainers. So we have to design in such a fashion that we should be able to handle the online
अरे वो
system.
दूसरे फेसबुक पे
Right now we are
वो
seeing also
गूगल मीट पे नहीं
because
होगा,
YouTube पे।
यूट्यूब पे।
doing the online classes. So I think this pedagogic
वो बात है।
seminar about the educators will certainly create new milestones.
राजगढ़ दलाल कर दिया क्या?
आ ही नहीं रहे,
हैं?
आ ही नहीं रहे, लिस्ट में नहीं।
All the delegates, and especially I would like to thank our Delhi Principal Dr. Japrakash, who is always enthusiastic to create such a seminar and webinar and conference for the promotion of the students and the coming teachers. And I thank all the delegates also who are participating with their absolute zeal and gestures. Dr. Japrakash and his team is really praiseworthy here. So thank you. And I would really enjoy to listen to all the keynote speakers because speakers like Dr. Nivedita ji and Sushma ji, Malsao and Moji are there. So I think I should not take much of the time. And once again I welcome wholeheartedly each and everyone who is participating in the seminar. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for motivation.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I invite Dr. Veronica Sokova, Professor, Faculty of Education, Geneva University, Slovakia, to please present to please article present. Thank you very much. Calling from Slovakia for all participants. I hosted you, Amy and also Arati, and I am very grateful for all invitation, and I am happy that I have a possibility to be here and to few words about my university, about my research, and about my activities in the teacher training programs. I wanted to present first my university, but I don't know how to share my window. If my presentation is first presenting the number one hospital to of your time.
Okay. Okay, okay. Okay, ma'am. Yeah, Nisha madam, you have.
You see my presentation? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, ma'am. Right.
I don't know why it is not possible to present.
Okay. You, you wanna first slide, madam, about your university.
I hope that you see my window, my presentation.
Madam, first, yeah, yeah. Yes, yes, and we are.
I
Yes,
hope
yes.
that you are in the education at the Department of Mathematics and Computer Science in our university. Slovakia is, you can see at the first map, that Slovakia is in the middle of the Europe. Slovakia has area of 49 quadrat kilometers, 49,000 quadrat kilometers, and population approximately 35 crores,
इनको म्यूट करे यार
millions of people.
इनको इसको पागल को माइंड
Important
आपने
features
इसको म्यूट कर
are
दिया अगर
that North and Austria in southwest,
यार करते इसको
North,
म्यूट
मोटी करे तो पता नहीं कहाँ से
Czech,
मोटी है
Poland, in the east is Ukraine, and south of the Hungary. The university is as for faculties, faculty of philosophy, art, faculty of education, faculty of healthcare, social work, faculty of theology, and faculty of law. The history of the university is very interesting, and you can see the connection between health and the Visual University in Budapest and the Zanzibar
हाँ मैडम
University in Panama. Historical Zanzibar University
ज्वाइन
was
सुषमा शर्मा मैडम को
one
ज्वाइन
of
करना
the
है
oldest universities
वो
in Slovakia.
नहीं वो भर रखा है ना मैडम सारा वो उसको खाली करवाना पड़ेगा
It was
करवा रहे हैं
established by Bishop Kardinal Peter Alba.
हाँ नहीं नहीं लिंक लिंक तो वही है मैडम लिंक की कोई दिक्कत नहीं है
13
जो बस वो आपको
and consists of
स्क्रीन
four
शेयर नहीं हो रही
ठीक
क्या
है
faculties:
ठीक
और
है
की
ठीक है
यहाँ से नहीं दिख रही
theology, arts, law, and medicine. The university has various halls of science and observatory, surrounded by
हाँ
maximum
तो
gardens
आप
and well-known
मैडम सेव नहीं की करना है
क्या चीज नहीं सर शेयर करी थी
कहाँ सेव
at least for 142 years. But in 1777, it was moved to what is the oldest part of Budapest, like a separate city. It became the largest, most important, and best university in Hungary, actually called a social university. It is a university survived world as a research professor. The National Council of Slovakia established Sava University on March 24, 25, year 1992. The Academic Senate of Sava University funded two faculties, the Faculty of Humanities and Faculty for Education. That means that we start only with two faculties. The Faculty of Nursing and Social Work was established in 1994, 2 years later. President of September 1994 joined the nomination as the Faculty of Theology of Sava University. It is located in Bratislava, capital of Slovakia. It is about 50 kilometers far from Prague. The Faculty of Law was established in 1997 and educated, and the first rector of the university was Dr. Professor Anton Nagy, and additionally the present rector is Professor René Mill. We can see that actually the university has nearly 5,000 students with both for external and internal training for study. Faculty of Philosophy and Art, television of faculty, and art hosting of 9 departments is to provide university education in philosophical humanity and social science and art. You can see that student or study programs of this faculty on the list. Faculty of Education is the largest faculty of the university and faculty directly that provide complex education for teachers of nursery, primary, and secondary schools, first instructional support and social teachers, and as well specialists in the field of preschool pedagogy and fine art pedagogy. Study programs are several field didactics and elementary pedagogy are carried out at the faculty. You can see the study programs of this faculty. With red color is because they're defined one and blue color is the teacher training in mathematics and computer science. Faculty of Health and Social Science, Social Work,
क्या करिए
मेरे को ज्वाइन कराओ, समझ नहीं आ रहा है तो सोशल को हो गया।
अरे है 101 होते हैं क्या करें
ये तो चुप कराया है, या तो
थोड़ी देर में जुड़ जाएंगे
कैसे हो सकता है डॉक्टर निवेदिता को ज्वाइन कराना है।
अरे मेरे भाई जुड़ जाएंगे जब एक आधा निकलेगा
हाँ।
ट्राई करी जाओ
चलो
राजवीर दलाल भी ना उड़े
टेलीफोन कर रहा हूँ,
राजवीर दलाल ना उड़े
कह देता हूँ 2-4 घटेंगे तभी बात होगी। मैं कहते करते जाओ
करते जाओ ना थोड़ा ट्राई करते रहो तो सारा है ना
interpretation, application, Slovak, public law, Slovak, private law, international law, and European law. This study program at the level of bachelor study and master degree and also the third
YouTube पे कितने हैं
level of university study. Preparation to PhD students. Faculty of Theology is only the faculty is located in Bratislava, capital
91 में
हैं
91 क्या ऐड कर रहे हैं, विजिटर नहीं पता लग रही
हैं
91 ने तो चैट की है, जैसे विजिटर नहीं पता लग रही,
क्या नहीं है?
विजिटर नहीं दिखा रहा अभी,
अच्छा,
बस वो दिखा
अब क्या पता जुड़ भी रहे हैं।
ना 91 96
चल ठीक रहा है।
हाँ,
रिकॉर्ड तो हो रहा होगा ना ये?
रिकॉर्ड नहीं हो रहा, यूट्यूब से रिकॉर्डिंग रिकॉर्डिंग करते तो हैवी होती है।
कहीं मिल तो जाएगा ये।
प्रेजेंटेशन कैसी है? वो इधर है। प्रेजेंटेशन गाइड है।
Yeah. Yeah. Now, madam, it's okay. Yeah. 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 Hammer. हैं? किसके लिए? यूट्यूब पर? बिल्कुल नहीं। आवाज नहीं आ रही है?
यूट्यूब पे अभी तो
कई बार वो बीच में सुषमा समझ के ना पड़ा मैंने जोड़ना है मुश्किल है, बोली मेरे लिए पचास हजार मैंने समझा ये स्क्रीन शॉट वगैरह लेते रहे ना मैडम, स्क्रीन शॉट वगैरह क्या लंच हाँ ये जरूरी है मैडम ना लेट्स
कभी
आप हटा नहीं सकते किसी को,
हटा सकते हैं,
रिमूव नहीं कर
सकते हैं, रिमूव करते ही रिक्वेस्ट आ जाती है आगे।
रिक्वेस्ट अब है जगह
हाँ,
तो सुषमा शर्मा मैडम को बोलना है
ऑप्शन नहीं है जो स्पीकर को हम जोड़ सकें। निवेदिता को प्रमोद को इनको जोड़ना है, निवेदिता प्रमोद इनको जोड़ सके, ऐसा कोई ऑप्शन नहीं है।
इसको नहीं वो करके जोड़ देगा, ये निकाल दो एक
जोड़
जोड़
की हो क्या?
एक ना यूट्यूब में तुम लोगों की आवाज आ रही है, यूट्यूब वाले चैनल पे उस पे। बंद कर रखा है, उसको साउंड बंद कर। दूसरा ना इसमें एक तो प्रमोद को जोड़, निवेदिता को जोड़। प्रमोद और यूट्यूब ना, प्रमोद, निवेदिता। मेरी आवाज आ रही है? आ रही है आवाज? एक है प्रमोद, अब वो तो क्या है, बार बार नहीं भेजो भेजो नहीं पाती, इसलिए इसको हो रहा है। तभी तुम जोड़ देती हो। मैं क्या करता हूँ, एक नाम नोट कर, एक लोग डाल करता हूँ,
मैक्सिमम यूट्यूब पे जुड़े हुए हैं, क्योंकि उसमें तो जुड़ नहीं सकते, 100 पूरे हो गए और वो सारों किसी को आवाज नहीं आ रही।
वो मैं जो आप कह रहे थे ना, मैंने दोबारा उसको रिफ्रेश करके आ गई ना।
अब हमको वैसे कैसे
सर
स्पीकर
की
को
आवाज कहाँ से आ रही है, ये देखो बीच में, मैं वही तो परेशान हूँ।
थोड़ी देर
थोड़ी
बाद
पीछे चलती है क्या?
ये यूट्यूब पे कामयाब नहीं है, ये तो
और
सीधा
आपकी पूरी आवाज है ये बीच में, अब भी पता नहीं क्या बोली जा रही है। सच में मैं झूठ नहीं बोल रही, यूट्यूब पे पूरी आवाज आई है, समझ नहीं आ रही, ऐसे बोल रहा है आपने।
मेरी आवाज नहीं है,
आई है।
मेरी आवाज नहीं आ रही।
Sanjeev?
ICT and digital technology into teaching. Teacher must be substantial theoretical knowledge and digital skills to be digitally and informatically literate. Teachers have to be open to new ideas. Teachers create situations when pupils explore ideas under their observation. Teachers help students to effectively connect experience and discoveries from other subjects and help them to understand how the world around us works. That means that the student create your own information and knowledge system. It is not isolated information and knowledge items, but integrated information and knowledge system who is able the pupil that the owner use in new situation for solving new problems and new situation, but it is possible to solve by the knowledge in the knowledge system of the owner. That means that it is very, very important to recognize the problem, to find the methods and information for solving, and apply this information and knowledge to create and also to solve new situations and new problems. Teachers create situation when pupils explore ideas under their observation. Teachers help students to effectively connect experiences and discoveries from other subjects and help them to understand how the world around us works. Teachers decided how to support the lesson, complete the task, and achieve didactic objectives. The teacher have to be a master in didactic transformation of knowledge for the pupils according to his mental level of knowledge. Teachers have access to the necessary technical equipment, technologies, and fast internet. The same conditions have to be on the side of learner also. It is impossible to ignore the tools for education amongst participants. The distance learning form of education replaced the full-time form for everyone, not only for pupils with special needs. Because before also we used distance form of study, but it was for students and pupils for individual needs and special needs, and also for excellent sportsmen or talented students with possible to learn more quickly, more fast than other pupils. Teachers need to prepare to provide distance learning form of learning. It is necessary to work on this in the future teacher study programs, offering new subject and innovative and extended contents of the old subjects. Effective use of digital technologies is an important condition both for the education, for the school management, administrative or communication with the public and the parents and so on. The efficiency of technology on the teaching process can no longer be overlooked. The good teacher needs to transfer her professional skills to use of technology, digital tools. Technology needs to use effectively and efficiently. Pupils need to guide it in the use of technology to help their professional growth, also in the case of children from social disadvantaged background and children with certain disabilities. Our goal is to cultivate teacher internal need for lifelong permanent learning. It is very important because it is not real to make for the teacher in the practice all time and day-to-day new seminars and practice how to use new tools, because from day to other day we found new or get new systems and new tools for using in education. Let me speak for the information literacy and information culture of teachers. The European standard for teacher in the key competencies include the ability to use modern educational technology tools and devices and technologies, to work with able didactic software and educational application and education portals and several other sources for teaching, but also to create own didactic software educational application with the high didactic transformation for presented knowledge. High level of information and digital literacy, information culture and digital skills of teachers is necessary. The request met within the subject of current teacher study program oriented at ACT in education and educational software creation. The current graduates teacher study programs are entering the teaching practice erudite enough, experienced in the use of educational technologies. But it is not enough for the life, for the teaching practice in future. And therefore I said that big task is to cultivate a teacher internal need for lifelong permanent learning. That means there have to follow the new tools, new applications, new environments who is necessary to use for effective teaching. Teachers, and I mean the teachers who is not non-informatics and computer science subject, can also create interactive educational software without programming skills and environment that facilitates the support such activities. MS PowerPoint user can create very impressive presentation that contain smaller information units into the necessary structure and not use only a linear structure as a sequence of the information. Creation, a structured presentation arranged into a logical structure, more paths in the structure, possibility to zoom in on the details, more the presentation from the first point in the last, or go to any points to the presentation. The presentation of knowledge is more illustrative in this case. Where was the shortcomings, and where is the shortcomings in the preparation of the future teachers? Current preparation of teachers is oriented only the full-time, the present form of education. Not only had predicted for the distance learning in the compulsory school attendance during the COVID-19 pandemic outbreak. It was a big unpleasant surprise for the teacher because they was not prepared for this situation and have to learn very much and need very, very much new skills to teach in a distance form. The distance learning was applied only in individual study programs before. At the universities, it was used very often because there was also external study programs who was provided in the distance way. Each course used different tools on their environment for realization of distance learning, because in the beginning was no instruction from the no information and guidance from the Ministry of Education, and no was distributed the same tools for all schools. That means that one school very often used several different environment and tools for distance study. Within the schools, numerous conference systems or video conference systems were used. For example, at the primary level, it was Zoom, and the secondary level of the elementary school was used MS Teams. The lack of any central coordinator regarding the use of tools, preparation and realization of the learning process. Students had to multiply online activities planned at the same time because all the teachers planned individually and not by the time scheduler of the teaching. Guidance from the Ministry of Education and Sport of Slovak Republic arrived too late. The situation has shown that teachers are not sufficiently prepared for the realization of distance learning. It is impossible to change form from one day to other. School must prepare strategy for similar situation for the future. Schools, teachers and pupils need to have access to the basic technical and program equipment and fast internet connection. Both teachers and pupils need to be able to operate the tools effectively. Schools need functional and used informational system for communication between teachers and pupils and teacher and parents. Rarely, the information system before was used only rarely. It exists at the school, but was only passively used or used only for communication between teachers and parents. Teacher must be able to provide electronic materials, teaching equipment, and learning system which would cover the whole scope of the subject. It is important to coordinate the process or material, textbooks, and e-books preparation. Already exist online student books and electronic textbooks need to be systematized along with the state educational program and curriculum. Widely teaching materials should be accessible to the teacher and students. Widely educational portals should be easily and simply accessible. It is important to prepare the list of topics in individual subjects on the level of the educational system. It is necessary to create individual subject committees need to coordinate the preparation and improvement of the prepared topics units. The work of creators is optimal and effective to avoid thematic units to be covered by multiple teaching materials. Teachers should have access to the list of uncovered topics to be able to offer their materials for the use, and they should be appropriate, relevant and their works. The topics which must be included in the future teachers' preparation. It is the situation at Slovakia that we prepared new study programs for accreditation, and we want to include also our experiences from the situation during the pandemic, and to include the topics who is looked for the last or old study programs. The teachers who have finished the university preparation recently use ICT in education very skilled, in a skilled way. They are essential in education tools, various technical devices, albeit didactic software, educational portals, websites, and webnets create application in suitable environment by the use of suitable tools. Subjects which are included in their teacher study program of university together with subject focused on the theory and praxis of teaching individual subject often enough theoretical and practical inputs and create space for gaining experience in using modern educational technologies. But all these subjects are oriented to the full time for the teaching, although some can be applied and adapted to the combined or distance form of study. It is no hard task because all the digital tools is possible to use also in distance form of study. And very much from environment and tools allows to use interactivity and to share the screen of the teacher and also of educants or the learners between the partners, between the both sides. When preparing the information sheets of the subject and determining the content of the subject, the authors did not actually take into account the possible of distance form of teaching, but it is necessary to include. Therefore, future teachers need to be prepared also for the distance form of teaching, because we don't know what we get or what will be the future. Necessary to release the current teacher study program and include new subject or update the content of existing subject with the topics, very actual topics for distance learning. University students use information system oriented to the management their studies through their whole university study period which include essential information about student, teachers, study programs, subject, individual study program, and their basic characteristics. Similar information systems are used at the primary and secondary schools, but this system, is very rarely used, and the teachers don't know how to use and how to implement it in their own subject and own work at the schools. That means that this subject, information system in education, must be implemented to the teacher study programs. Communication, cooperation can be added among teachers, students, and school management, but also between parents and school representatives. Teachers can use the system to communicate with their students, to give them assessment, to monitor the progress, to instruct and inform the student while doing an assignment, and communicate with the school management. The future teachers need to learn how to operate this system and how to use their function, which cannot be centralized in one system only. That means that not know how to operate with this system, but know and understand how this system works. The distance learning during the COVID-19 pandemic indicate following facts to that not being as obvious during the full-time eras. School and teachers, even pupils, are not prepared for the distance formal learning. Lack of teachers' experiences to create online materials for given online courses, the lack of coordination, cooperation, and planning of the process of creating educational materials. School information systems are only seldom used, and many of their functions are unknown to teachers as well as the school management. Teachers had not a quality software system for the distance learning. School used various systems for distance learning very often, or more than one the same time. It has been to reduce the number of this used system. And it's very important for us and for teachers, parents and pupils during the distance learning, that teaching, acknowledgement that teaching is not so easy and that is acquired a certain pedagogical mastery. The use and incorporation of these technologies into teaching brings new possibilities. Students and pupils have to use their own devices, but many of them did not have the necessary equipment at home or fast enough internet connection and so on. Students got new skills, increased their digital literacy, and learned to critically assess various information sources. Teachers were forced to use school information system, communicate with students electronically, use various educational systems, create digital teaching materials, and increase their information literacy and digital culture. That's all from my side. Thank you very much for your attention, and I am ready to answer your questions, if any.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. So, if anyone has any query or questions regarding ma'am's presentation, then he or she may ask.
Madam, there is one question that
Mic on करिए. हाँ जी, mic on करिए.
I don't know where I found the question.
that is, I'm speaking. The question I'm not giving in writing. That you have very well explained about the role of
I have a very bad noise.
And my question is, what is there any, you can say the role of ICT or online education is very much supportive in distance education as compared to traditional education?
Can you repeat your answer, your question?
The role of ICT or digital education is very much supportive in distance education as compared to traditional education.
It is not understandable because the voice is very.
The role of education, online education, is very much supportive education as comparative to regular education.
I ask Nisha Goa to repeat the question because I don't understand. It is a very high level noise.
My
question is the role
of
of
ICT
ICT
or
or
digital
digital
education
education
or online
or
education.
online education is very much helpful in distance education as compared to the traditional education.
I'm not sure that I understand your question because it was only very rarely words. I catch it, but I think.
Madam, my question is because you are dealing with the distance education. And what you think that the role of ICT or online education or digital education is very much supportive in distance education as compared to regular education?
At our university and also in much of schools, the distance education brings very much advantages for student and for teacher also. But the preparation was very time consuming to prepare a very good lesson in a distance form. But for example, the second period we solved the problem how to teach practically oriented subject. For example, how to teach robot construction. In the real world, the situation was that the schools not have enough tools, not have enough construction sets. But we found, for example, simulation environment who was the same in the detail of the sets, the same tools contains, and it was possible to make in a virtual environment the construction, and all the students, all the pupils have the same tools for using. And also, for example, laboratory works in chemistry, in biology, or in mathematics, and also in computer science, it was very useful to use simulation tools. And I think that it was very useful for students because when it is not possible to use real laboratory, the substitution of the real experiment with virtual experiment, or maybe also not only virtual, because the experiment have to be in realized, but will be to accessible for all students by the tools or using the tools for distance learning. It is very useful.
Thank you, madam.
The sharing the screen, because the student have, for example, the solution on his screen, but it is not the definitively or not the right solution. It is possible together with other participants, other distance participants in distance study to to discuss about the solution, and also found together
Thank you.
mistakes in the program,
You
for
have right.
example.
Thank you, madam. You have rightly answered my question that regular student can do very much. You can say the practicals and other. You can say the you can in the practical rooms, or you can say regular education instead of distance education. Rightly said, and your presentation was very good. Nicely, you have presented all the concepts regarding distance education and role of ICT and digital education, and compared these all things with the regular education. Thank you, madam. बहुत very nicely you have
It is
presented.
interesting. It is interesting that our students have a pedagogical praxis at the secondary and at the primary schools. And during the pandemic, it was not possible to realize that our students practice in teaching also by distance learning. That means that they have to prepare in a distance way the teaching exercises.
Thank you, ma'am.
I
Thank you,
will,
ma'am.
I will request Dr. Jayaprakash to say a few
Thank you,
words.
ma'am. You have explained very well. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. You spared your valuable time and you explained very well about all the queries of our participants. And I am pleased to inform you that in this webinar, more than 1,000 participants they have joined, and they are taking interest in your guideline and your intellectual knowledge. And in future, we will also remain in touch with you. And your university is doing well. I have gone through your university process, and your knowledge about the computer, because I am also from the computer science, education and biological science. That's why I know very well about the intelligence, artificial intelligence, and you have well explained in your address. I once again, ma'am, thanks from all the JCD family, and especially from Dr. Sunil Sharma. She is our managing director. She also gives me, and I also thank Chaman Verma. He is your students, and from core of my heart, I thanks because due to Chaman, I we approach you. Thank you, Chaman, and thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much once more for invitation, and I am happy to have a possibility to be here and share with you my experiences.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Veronica ma'am. Thank you so much. Now, Dr. Sushma Sharma, retired professor of special education, former dean, faculty of education, Kurukshetra University, Kurukshetra. She is with us. Welcome, Sushma Sharma ma'am. Now we will like to hear you. So I request ma'am to share her views with us.
Good afternoon, everyone. Professor Veronica, Dr. Jayaprakash, Dr. Rajender, and of course the special guest in the morning, Dr. Shamim and Nisha, the one who is sort of comparing. And Dr. Rajender, it's indeed my pleasure to be here to join you all in this international webinar. And I was able to listen to Dr. Veronica to some extent. I was unable to join due to because there were more than 100 participants and I was not allowed to enter the Google Meet. But finally, I could see some of the transparencies and PowerPoint presentation what Professor Veronica was making. Since I had experience of doing my PhD from Australia, and I'm very much aware from 22 years back also, they were quite ahead of us in terms of using the technology. Dr. Rajinder was asking question whether they are using for regular students or they were using for distance learner. I think technology is something which they are using for both. Even when I was teaching or tutoring, I was using WebCT. There was a, and there were, it was a very amazing the way they were preparing teachers or teacher educators, the one who were taking classes, to use the technology, latest technology. And there used to be. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Continue.
Dr. Rajendra, am I audible now?
Yes.
I wanted to share the PPTs. I made 9 points, and I was thinking since I have got limited time to discuss the topic, I would happy to share the PowerPoint presentation with Jayaprakash, and he can run for the participant over there. Can I have your email ID, Jayaprakash, through which I can send my PowerPoint presentation to you? Official और एनीवन? डॉक्टर राजेंद्र, मुझे ईमेल आईडी दीजिएगा ना, तो मैं पावर पॉइंट शेयर कर देती हूँ, क्योंकि ये मेरे पास आईफोन है, इससे मैं एक्सेस नहीं कर पा रही हूँ अपनी मेल. डू यू थिंक एनीवन कैन गिव मी द ईमेल आईडी ऑफ द JCD इंस्टीट्यूट? I will share immediately, so that you can run the PowerPoint presentation. I will be talking about multidisciplinary pedagogical approaches for future teachers, teacher training. The kind of situation we are facing due to pandemic COVID-19, and now we have started living, following the new normal life. To throw your, interact with those ideas, how we are going to match the world if we are going to be so behind in terms of technology. See, we are using online this Google Meet, and it was so hard. More than 100 participants, you were not able to enter, and audible. We were not able to hear properly, so obviously it was very stressful. These things are not there when we talk about Western world, especially Australia and Slovakia. Also, Dr. Veronica was mentioning they have got technologically so advanced. They have absolutely no problem. From the day one child is using technology, using mobile or computers, and that has other side also. The children who are from the Western world, they are so poor in numeracy and literacy because they straight away go into calculators or mobile or on, while our children are not that much. So literacy and numeracy is not that way affected when we talk about our country. The point which I wanted to cover today, if I get the email ID, I will share the presentation. I would share that what is teaching. We have to ponder when we talk about multidisciplinary pedagogical approaches, and what is pedagogy and how does it differ from teaching. And then we are into 21st century that way. And what is the characteristics of 21st century educator, and what kind of skills needed on part of 21st century future teachers. I will be talking about the pedagogical approaches, and what are the pedagogical approaches given by International Bureau of Education, and at the same time.
डॉक्टर सुनील शर्मा का मोबाइल नंबर लेकर
मुझे ईमेल आईडी देंगे क्या? ईमेल आईडी देंगे तो मैं प्रेजेंटेशन शेयर करना चाहूँगा. John Dewey has said 100 years back, imagine if we teach today as we taught yesterday, we rob our children of tomorrow. John Dewey has said 100 years back. And what we had been doing? Terrible. In India, we must keep our rich past, but we should not forget our future also. The children are going to be global citizens. Accordingly, they have to be given those skills which are needed for global, to be a global citizen. People, we all know, generally we remember 10% what they read and 20% what they hear and 90% what they do. And the best part of what Dr. Veronica was mentioning, it's learning by doing. They keep on learning through project-based methodologies, or they have been given experiential learning. It's not bookish learning, because of which we are struggling. The India is struggling because we have less employability is not there. it is what teacher think, what teacher do, and what teacher are at the level at the classroom that ultimately shapes the kind of learning that young people get. We must know how we are thinking. That makes a difference. John Dewey's, as I mentioned, he was a pragmatist. He mentioned he has given 100 years back. He has talked about even pedagogical intervention, interdisciplinary instead of multidisciplinary. He has talked about interdisciplinary. 21st century educators, the characteristics of that, he has to be the adapter. Things are changing. Now we are in COVID-19 pandemic. Situation has changed. We have gone offline to online. Teacher has to be quick adapter to new situation. He should be able to communicate. He should be good communicator. Collaborate. We should be able to collaborate with people, because until this time we have been doing what we are doing, absolutely no problem. But nowadays things have changed. We have to work together in a team. And he has to be quick learner. Things have changed. Now we are using Zoom, Google Meet. If teacher is not ready to learn, he will not be able to take his students way forward. He has to be leader. That means he has to learn faster and he has to be ahead of his students. Teacher has to be model, because students are going to follow him. So he has to be a good role model. He has to be visionary, because I want where I want my students to be after 20 years. I should have some vision, and he should be able to be risk taker. This is very important. Risk taking abilities will make him um, discovered that way. 20 When we talk about 21st century skills for prospective teachers, it has been classified into four ways of thinking. His ways of thinking should be different. He should be creative. He should be critical thinker. Problem solving capability he must have it, and decision making and learning. If he has ways of thinking, has to be forward thinking person. Ways of working, he should be able to work, communicate well, collaborate, cooperate, professional ethics. These things are very, very important when we come talk about ways of working. I could not get the email ID. Rajendra, don't you have any email ID official, so that you can run the
You can
presentation?
note down, madam.
What is that?
You can down.
Yeah, just
Prakash dot
just a
Kuda.
minute. Prakash Prakash dot. Yes, I got it. Prakash at the rate of gmail.com. No. Prakash, then
J dot Prakash dot Kuda at gmail.com.
say again. Prakash dot.
Madam, JAI
J dot P-A-R-K-S.
Just a minute. Wait a minute. I had Jyot Prakash, so it comes J Prakash dot Prakash. PAR or PRA? PARKS at the rate of
Dot Huda, SWODA at the rate.
dot Huda. Just a minute. Dot Huda at the rate of gmail.com. Wait a minute. I'm just ready it. Just if it reaches, please.
Kuda H-O-O-D-A.
To J dot HOODA, yes, JAI dot PARKSH dot HOODA gmail.com, yes. Please, immediately if you can run, then it will be easy for me. I have done it. It must have reached to you. So I was talking 21st century skills for prospective teachers, future teachers, ways of thinking, ways of working, tools for working. Dr. Veronica has talked about RCT in such a detail, because they have technology. They are using, students are using from the day one itself. So absolutely they have no problem. But when it comes to India, we are getting into that mode that everybody should be able to use ICT from the very beginning. Technology and information literacy, which is very important. So many open access material is available on the net. Student should be able to know from where he will be getting. There are so much of trash. There are very good material also. He should be able to identify what is trash, what is good for him. I remember being in Australia, every year, every 6 months, they used to train us that how to quickly find the material on net. Tools for working, as I mentioned, ICT, technology and information literacy, media literacy. Then skills for living in the world, like we have to remember that we are not living in India, which is a country within the world. We are a citizen of globe. global citizenship, life and career, personal and social responsibility we must use. Yes, can we just move to second? I will open it here. Quickly, I could run. Teaching points to ponder, pedagogy and pedagogical approaches, characteristic of 21st century educator, 21st century skills needed for future teachers, what is pedagogy and pedagogical approaches, then blended mode of teaching and learning online, and implementation as per UGC concept. Recently, UGC, University Grants Commission, Veronica, we have been guided by University Grants Commission. They have talked about blended mode of learning, BL, in which we will be using online as well as offline material so that our students should be benefited. Now, can we move to second one, which I have covered, but we will just recap that. Teaching, second one. Who would who would run that? Jayaprakash, somebody should run that. Yes. Teaching, points to ponder. Teaching is, if we teach today as we taught yesterday, we rob our children of tomorrow. Very, very correctly. 100 years back, he said, and that we have been doing until the last 10 years. I think only after 10 years we realized that we have to move to ICT and we cannot go with what we have been doing, what we have been learning, and that we should not teacher. People generally remember 10% what they read and 20% what they hear and 90% of what they do. It is what teachers think, what teachers do, and what teachers are at the level of the classroom that ultimately shapes the kind of learning that young people get. Next, please. 21st century characteristic. I think I discussed that. Can you just quickly run that, please? Somebody would have to do it for me. Yes, for the benefit of all. Adapter, communicator, collaborator. Because these terms we have been not practicing, we have been only reading, verbatizing. Now it's high time that we must use it. How to collaborate with so many people. I am getting requests from Australia that we need Indian collaboration. Somebody could join us in the research team. That is how we have international team also. The learner, the leader, the model, the visionary, the risk taker. 21st century skills, prospective teachers, it has been divided into 4 ways of thinking, ways of working, tools for working, and these are all things which Veronica also has talked about at length. See, 21st century pedagogy teaches contextually. We have to teach with reference to the context. Without context, if we teach, the learning becomes useless because we are not able to apply that. It has to be interdisciplinary. We were talking about multidisciplinary, things have to be interdisciplinary as well. Collaboratively, project-based learning, problem solving, transparently. Transparency is very important. Transparency is very, very important. Every student should know what they have done it. They should be able to evaluate their progress by themselves. And then thinking skills, then technological, information and media fluency we need to have it. So see, 21st century learners need 21st century teachers. The teacher must have all these skills. Now question arises, what is pedagogy? What is pedagogy? We are teaching pedagogy is a theoretical part of education which helps teachers to know the objectives, or we nowadays we call learning outcomes, process outcomes of the teaching process. Teaching is the practical part of education. It is an implementation part of education or pedagogy. Pedagogy is one of the important subjects a future teacher has to learn to become an efficient teacher. Pedagogy covers the psychological aspects of children in learning process and theories or techniques and tools of successful teaching. All these things are being covered under pedagogy. Can you please move after part? What is pedagogy? Please move to next. राजेंद्र कौन यूज कर रहा है इसको बोलो जरा सर नेक्स्ट को रन करेगा प्लीज ये हो गया नेक्स्ट yes that also I have covered it next Can you use the next? Yes. Pedagogical approaches, IBE, International Bureau of Education, UNESCO has mentioned three approaches: multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, and transdisciplinary. We must remember multidisciplinary, we are looking at something from different discipline. And it's very, very important. But nowadays we are moving from multidisciplinary to interdisciplinary. We should we should know a concept from cut across different discipline, how they are combining the discipline is interdisciplinary. And transdisciplinary, we are talking about artificial intelligence. So many technologies, so many disciplines are joining together to make it happen, removing the boundaries between the core disciplines. That is what known as transdisciplinary. In the disability field, Dr. Veronica, I am from basically from disability sector and in disability field, and we use transdisciplinary and interdisciplinary approaches while dealing with the children with disabilities, because child needs services from different disciplines in that case. When we talk about pedagogical approaches, the five basically main approaches have been talked. Constructivist, we had National Curriculum Framework, C 2005. They have mentioned about the child is his own learning. Teacher is a facilitator. Instead of what we have been doing in India, we were asking them to rote, cram, and just reproduce, which is not helping. Collaborative, working together, peer learning, peer tutoring, and team learning. Integrative, cutting across disciplines, make connection rather than isolated. We should not teach subjects in isolation. We have to teach subjects together through integrative approach. Reflective, it is very important. We must stepping back and analyze what we have learned, how I was earlier and how what learning I could make due to this exercise. Copying from some other person won't help. Inquiry based, raising questions, posing problems, and finding solutions. That is very much important, and we need to use it. In India, the situation is, since the class size is very big, these approaches are very, very important, but due to class size, at times teacher find it very hard. And our syllabi is too much content based, content loaded. So obviously, because teacher has to finish the content, the focus is more on content cramming. Quickly you learn all those things because that is going to be covered in your examination. Examination oriented, that is really creating problem. Now we have to move away from that. Children has to make learning, little learning will make him successful instead of learning and forgetting. That won't help. Next, please. Is there anything else? Yes, I have talked about blended mode of learning. I would request all the participants. Now UGC has floated 148 pages concept note on blended mode of learning, because we are also fumbling and trying to make sure that our students' learning is not affected due to pandemic, and we are trying to make it more flexible and student-centric, and which has 6 chapters. Now, I would request all the participants, because I had limited time. I wish I should have time to discuss this concept note as well. But the chapter 3 covers in detail ICT tools and initiatives, and chapter 4 covers implementation of blended learning, how we are going to implement. And they have talked about even they have talked about evaluation and how we can have it blended mode, the open book examination. You know, all these things are going to be there because of the pandemic. As you all are aware, 10th result, Haryana board, 100% result. Smockery, students are struggling, teachers are finding hard. How we can evaluate students? The student should know exactly where he stands instead of giving 100 out of 100. But he knows I have not learned all. So we need to find out the way out so that children should know exactly where they stand. 60%, 70% of how much learning they had. Discussion forum, share documents, brainstorming, think spontaneously, derive solutions, concept mapping. These things they have talked about. Mind mapping, how we are going to. Teachers have to be trained by UGC so that they should know how to make these concepts practical in reality itself. Expose it to the real world. Case study, how they are going to write, because we are not used to working independently, but now everything has to be done independently. We are having online exams, Dr. Veronica, I can't tell you what kind of problems we are facing because students are simply cramming and writing the same answer. All students, if all students will write the same answer, how would you evaluate? How would you discriminate? And they don't even understand what they have read. It's something we have to really find out solution for that. Cooperative learning is strategy is very important. The student have to learn, understand the concept that it is his or her learning will make him comfortable or will get him job and will make him successful in his life instead of copying from others that won't make him comfortable. So the strategies, multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, have to be made use now in the during the pandemic, COVID-19, when we all are struggling. Hopefully, the COVID will go away, and but I think ICT will remain, and this has made it possible for all of us that we can hear you because earlier it was difficult to think of calling anyone from overseas, but now since online there is only option available online, and online most of us are available to share our knowledge or experience or spread our knowledge to different countries. And I feel so happy to join you. And I must congratulate the team of JP, Rajendra, and all who has thought of conducting this international webinar. And my best wishes. I was giving very limited 10-15 minutes. I think I have covered that time. Any question? If somebody is having any question, I would be happy to answer. Is that all?
And
आई थिंक आपको अनम्यूट करना पड़ेगा. Somebody has to unmute. राजेंद्र कौन बोल रहे हैं? Not audible. Not audible. Dr. Veronica, do you have the same problems in your country while taking classes or while addressing students? You are not audible too. I think, Dr. Veronica, you have to unmute yourself.
Excuse me, I have my microphone off.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We have very similar problems in our country.
You have?
Yes.
Or not have?
Have also the same problem.
Okay. Oh my God. It's so uncomfortable. It's so stressful, you know. I was using my, I was trying to use this PowerPoint presentation through my mobile, but I could not manage because it's a new phone and I could not have access to my PowerPoint presentation. And obviously, I'm using my iPhone, but not able to use my presentation. Yes, Dr. Rajendra, कुछ कहना चाहेंगे क्या? कुछ questions हैं क्या?
Yeah, Sushma ma'am, very inspirational lecture from your side.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Vandana.
Very inspirational lecture.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
very inspirational
Thank you,
lecture
Dr.
from Vernica Stoffe also. But ma'am, I have question about the pandemic pedagogy. Pandemic pedagogy is called as you can say emergency remote teaching. What is your view about emergency remote teaching as pandemic pedagogy emerges as emergency remote teaching model?
Emergency remote.
My question is for Vernica.
I could not understand your question. Could you please repeat that? I could not understand. What is the emergency? Say.
Yeah. No, ma'am. This is not my question. This is not my question. I'm just trying to reveal the concept of pandemic pedagogy. As pandemic pedagogy is called as emergency remote teaching. This is not a question. Yeah, ma'am. This is not a question. I'm just saying about pandemic.
You're taking my question.
But I am just talking
Yeah,
about the UGC has offered the concept note, and they have talked about blended learning. Blended
yeah.
learning. It is due to pandemic only the new concept note has come, and we are also raising some concern for person with disabilities because the
Yeah.
I am taking very regularly workshops for my Udyam Shalini girls in the evening, and but a number of times there are issues. Some other fellows are entering while we were discussing. Outsiders, intruders are coming. So how to check with them? Many security issues are there, and cyber crimes are at the highest. You all know about it. So I am not since I have not used it, and but the blended mode of learning is quite safe, and I think the digital platform which we are using, we need to register in every digital platform so that outsiders cannot enter. Because twice it has happened that I was attending the session and there was some outsiders use nonsense, shared the video which was unacceptable. And this time also 6 7 boys just entered our arena, and they were writing text messaging also. So cyber crime, if it is cyber security is taken care in whichever mode, I think that could help, because our students are quite active nowadays. Of course, when they don't, if they can't afford mobile, that's another problem. But if they need to be given Android mobile, so that they should be able to use digital platform for learning. But I'm not very sure about the question which you, because I am not aware at least at the moment. Dr. Vandana, I'm sorry.
No, ma'am, you're quite inspirational lecture from your side, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
We must have taken care of digital tools.
Thank you
Thank you,
so
ma'am.
much. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Dr. Vandana. Good to see you.
मैडम वंदना का बहुत बहुत थैंक्स कि जुड़ चुके हैं हमारे साथ। और मैडम जो है सुषमा ने बहुत ही अच्छे ढंग से जो है प्रेजेंटेशन अपना दिया, बहुत ही अच्छा लगा। और क्योंकि डिसेबिलिटी की आप जो है ना स्पेशलाइजेशन की फील्ड की हैं, तो क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ बीएड स्पेशल एजुकेशन है, तो काफ़ी बच्चे कह रहे थे जी हम क्वेश्चन पूछेंगे। मैंने कहा इतना टाइम तो नहीं है, पर फिर भी मैडम ने काफ़ी अच्छे ढंग से उनके क्वेश्चनों का आंसर दे दिया है कि जितने भी हमारे जो बच्चे हैं वो क्योंकि हमारे एमआ फील्ड के हैं, बाकी तो और दूसरा वीआई एचआई भी है, तो किस तरह से आईसीटी डिजिटल एजुकेशन का हम उनके लिए यूज करते हैं, तो उसके
डॉक्टर
बारे में
राजेंद्र,
बार-बार
बच्चों के लिए एक बार अलग से सेशन कर देना। कौन मुझे वहाँ आना है? ऑनलाइन आप मेरे को लिंक भेज दीजिएगा, बच्चों से इंटरेक्ट कर लूँगी।
हाँ, बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, मैं
अनआंसर्ड नहीं रहने दूँगी।
हाँ, उन बच्चों को आपसे जोड़ेंगे।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। थैंक यू सो मच डॉक्टर राजेंद्र।
थैंक यू मैडम।
थैंक यू डॉक्टर मुरालिका। गुड टू सी यू।
Thank you, Sushma ma'am. Thank you,
much.
Vandana ma'am. Now I would like to call Dr. Pramod Kumar. I would like to call upon Dr. Pramod Kumar, Dean School of Education, Central University of Haryana, Mahendragarh. Welcome,
I am
sir.
audible, ma'am. I am audible, ma'am.
Yes, you are audible, sir.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, for giving me opportunity. First of all, I would like to thanks the organizer giving me the opportunity to share my views. And really, it is a very good webinar in which we have learned about a lot of new things from the senior colleagues. And special thanks to the organizing committee, Dr. Sameem Sharma, MD, Dr. JP Jayaprakash, Dr. Rajendra Kumar, International Speaker of the Day, Dr. Varnika, senior colleagues of Kurukshetra University, senior professor, Professor Sushma Sharma, my colleagues senior colleague in my university, Professor Rajbir Dalal at Department of Political Science, Central University, Haryana, Professor Navedita, and recently joined Professor Vandana Punia, is technocrats, good teachers, and a lot of work on online teaching, all these things. So many things in the discussion already discussed by Professor Sushma Sharma and the earlier speaker, how we can use ICT. But I start my talk with the address by the chief guest, Dr. Sameem Sharma. Ma'am, start the rules are change of teaching and learning, as you see that in the modern during the pandemic situation, we have learned a lot of new things from our own experience, from the experience from outer the world. We have break the boundaries of the discipline and countries. We want to learn more and more. And I am talking about the multidisciplinary approach. So many things already discussed by Professor Sushma Sharma. So quickly, I will move on these aspects and what is the role of the teacher in multidisciplinary pedagogical approach. As you know that the percentage, the my idea is based on my limited knowledge about the multidisciplinary approach and what we have learned last 16 years during in this teaching professions. Based on this experience, I will explain something about this aspect, and I think GP give me the opportunity to explain something. If I exit, please tell me. I will stop when you will stop me. So first, we start our discussion. What is multidisciplinary approach? As Madam has discussed, when we talk about the multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary approach, when we learn the things in so many things, we completely learn comprehensive method to understand a particular problem. As you know that there are so many problems. When we are discussing, I'm a student of education. For example, a small example from education field. You are studying the out of school children. What are the reasons behind that students drop out of school children? So when you study this problem, there are so many aspects, sociological aspects, there are social problem, economical problem, and many more problems maybe the students drop school. So how we can study that problem, the different angles is there. We study the problem in depth. Available with us. I quote an example when first time I have visited the Germany in 2008 for the international conference. When I see that we are talking about the multidisciplinary approach, but they are really working on that. There are three researchers from the different countries. They are working on one project and they have presented their research. One problem they are seeing from different angles and give some good research findings how we can overcome this problem when we talk about this approach. So that approach is very useful not in teaching, it is very useful in every field, and we try to improve our skills as Madam told in her presentation. How we can improve our critical thinking, how we can improve our problem solving, time management, and so many things we can learn when we work in collaboration, when we work in team. So many things we can learn. Now move to what is pedagogy. So many questions in our mind. What is the difference between methods and pedagogy? Right? When we talk about the pedagogy is science, arts of teaching and education method. How we can transmit our knowledge to the students. There are different pedagogy available with us. How we can collaborate with other disciplines. How we can do work in a team. There are so many ways. And what is the need and necessity of the multidisciplinary approach in today during this pandemic situation? We are at home, and teachers are learning the technology. As Dr. Varnika said, that the technology play a very important role during that situation, and we have learned a lot of new things, knowledge, skills, pedagogies. We have learned earlier when we compare when the MOOCs program was started in India. How many people are using that MOOCs program? How many teachers are using the online platforms? But after implementation of these things, we have learned a lot of new things. How we can operate these gadgets. Madam is talking about we are so many problems in the technology. But I think technology will be very useful to enhance our knowledge. When we use the technology, are the both dimension of the technology. You are using positive way or negative way. Madam is discussing there are so many disturbances during meeting. But if you lock the meeting, then nobody can enter. If you have mechanism to stop the unnecessary noise, all these things, if you have a proper control on these things, right? So we can use the technology in a proper way, right? So what is the need of multidisciplinary approach in today's era? I'm agree with the Dr. Samim Sharma, the chief guest of the webinar, MD JCD Vidyapit. Madam, talk the rules of teaching and learning are changed. I'm totally agree with that. In 21st century, our thinking, our orientation, our way of learning are different. For give a small example from my university, we have students from 26 states. It is a mini India in Central University of Haryana. When the students are coming the different parts of the India, we are using the same pedagogy for all students. How it possible? We can change our pedagogy. We have to listen the students, keeping with their need and requirement. What are their and the role of the teacher is very important. And as you recall the Kothari Commission, the destiny of India is now being safe in her classroom. So we have changed our classroom, our interaction style we have to change so that we can satisfy the need and queries of the students. Otherwise, they will move to the technology, they will learn from the other field, they will learn from the other sources. They will use the technology, they will explore online resources. So many things we can learn during that pandemic situations. And as you know that the no universal pedagogy is available. Every discipline has their own pedagogy, own evaluation methodology, everything. But we have to collaborate on. We have to identify the issues on which aspect we can go for. You know that there are so many aspects of one problem. One problem may be philosophy, sociological aspect, then psychological aspect, the economical aspect. So many aspects we can see the problem when we're talking about the multidisciplinary approach. All discipline linkage with other discipline. No discipline is exist in isolation. Every discipline is have some interdisciplinary research, as I talked in the earlier. Every discipline is on methodology, pedagogy, right? So in the present era, we need the multidisciplinary approach, multidisciplinary pedagogy, keeping in with the need and requirement of the learner. That is very important. We are using the technology, but we limited the technology to the use of sophisticated gadgets. That is only one part of the technology. You have to another part. You have to understand the learner. That is the most important thing in today's era. If what are doing during online meetings, do you follow the ethics? Do you are well familiar with the rules and regulation of online learning? We have to orient them. Teachers are learn a lot of new things during 1 year. Last 1 year, they have learned a lot of new things, how to use the technology. Earlier, the UGC and the other bodies are giving emphasis. We use the MOOC courses. We have developed so many MOOCs in our university, and students enroll that during their choice-based study system. They are generic elective courses. They have opted the MOOC courses, and they are very much used to this technology. And very compulsory paper in our teacher training program, that is the ICT. It is very important to implement these things. We are a very good policy maker, but when we implement the things, then that will be saved a different shape. So keeping in mind all these things, we have need a multidisciplinary approach and so much focus on earlier policies. And if you go for NEP 2020, we have given so much opportunity on the keeping in view the child need and requirement. We follow the real choice-based study system. If we follow the real choice-based study system, when we naturally we are following the multidisciplinary approach, we give the maximum freedom to the learner to learn at your own pace and learn so many things. So then we have naturally the teacher has given the so much orientation how to use this pedagogy in their discipline. And what are the advantages of this multidisciplinary approach? How this approach is very useful. Holistic understanding, different perspective of a single problem, real world approach, as Madam told, Professor Susma Sharma told in her talk, the collaborative learning skills, 21st century skill. Madam talk about 21st century skills. These skills are very important in modern time. A teacher can't survive if you have the mastery. It is my personal opinion. If you want to become the good teacher, good leader, you must have a, if you want to set an example in your class. You must have a mastery on the content, then mastery on the methodology and pedagogy, and third, you have a good communication skills. If you have all these three prerequisite conditions, then you can become the good teacher, right? You are become the good teacher in your class, and students will listen. I'm heading this department last 3 years. I am listening to the students. We have the students from Odisha, Bihar, Jharkhand, Meghalaya, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Kerala. We have many students from many states, and we have all India level. We have the CUSET test. On the basis of that test, we recruit the students in different programs in our university. When we see their caliber, the students are very good. They are coming from the different background, socio-economic background. So how we can deal these students and we can satisfy their queries, right? So we give the proper opportunity to the students to enhance their skills, learning, and then in this way, the multidisciplinary approach play a very important role, right? Analyzing problem, computer literacy, communication, analyze their issues, application of ICT. ICT is very important. As earlier said, the speaker, Dr. Varnika, ICT play very important, no doubt at all. But that totally depend how we can use that ICT, in which context we are using the ICT. It is my humble request to all the participants, those who are entering the profession, ready to enter in the profession, please understand ICT. It doesn't mean to have the mastery on sophisticated gadgets. It is a one aspect, another aspect to understand the learner, that is very important. Flexibility, all these things and approaches, what are the different approaches, different pedagogies we are using, as Professor Sarma Madam said, we have different approaches we are using in education, particularly in education, in any other, and in also in other fields, constructivist, collaborative, integrative, reflective, inquiry-based learning, so many approaches we are using in the field of education. Now the question is how we can implement the multidisciplinary approach. How we can implement 2 and 3 points, then I will conclude my talk. First things, when you use any approach, please don't first try to understand the learner. That is my submission to all the teachers, teacher educators who have joined the program. Please try to understand the learner. If you understand the learner in the right way, then you can plan your pedagogy, then you plan your methodology, then you can collaborate with other teachers or to can provide you the help on particular problem, particular issues. But first things, you have to try to understand the content. Second thing, in every discipline, we can't use a multidisciplinary approach. Please keep in mind, you have to identify the content on which you can go for the multidisciplinary, multi-pedagogical analysis. We can't use every topic for the multidisciplinary, multi-pedagogical approach. You have to identify the topics. Third thing, you give the proper orientation to the teachers. Teacher is the key player in the teaching learning process. As you know that we have started online learning without giving the proper orientation to the teacher. I'm also the work in SIRSA Abhiyan and MDM in Haryana State from 2008 to 2013. I'm a member of that monitoring committee that is constituted by the MHRD. When we observe that teacher is giving the training of the special education, inclusive education, they have the children in their school, but they can't know. They are not using the basic things. Give the training. Training was organized by the government of Haryana. But what is the level of the training? What is the level of the orientation? What the teacher learn from the training? That is a separate thing. The teacher give the proper orientation of these things. Their problems should be addressed. We have a mechanism in the new education policy. We try to establish the different bodies who will take care of their professional development of the teachers, and so much focus on this new education policy. The role of the teacher is very important. And in the earlier policy, 1986, I'm quoting, the status of the teacher reflects the socio-cultural ethos of the society. It is said that no people can rise above the level of its teacher. The teacher's role is always very important in the earlier policy 1986, in the new policy new education policy 2020. Teacher play a very important role. Competency of the teacher and mastery of the pedagogy. The best judge, who will judge what pedagogy we will use during the classroom? The teacher can judge. Nobody, no other body can suggest. In my class, I know what pedagogy will be suitable, what type of multi multidisciplinary approach we can use, or which topic we can use. So all these things keep in mind, then we can execute, definitely we can use the multidisciplinary approach. We have to students outcome based professional development of the teachers, and there should be some connection between students learning outcome, as you know that we are in process to revise our curriculum on the basis of learning outcome. So we must to understand what is the learning outcome of that class. When we enter in the 60-minute transaction, we must know what will be the output of that class. Then definitely we can improve. Then definitely we can improve our teaching learning process, and you will see the interest of the student is also increased. If you are using that multidisciplinary approach, you will see, you can listen the problem, and then you have to plan your strategies, then you have to revise your pedagogy, then you will definitely see the change in your classroom. That is my submission to all of you that who enter in this profession, want to become the good teacher. Please listen to the student first, then you use your pedagogy. Thank you very much for giving the opportunity, and really it will be the great experience for me to learn new things during that interaction, and I hope I have covered all the things. Thank you.
Myself, Dr. Rajender, organizing secretary. I am
Yes.
really thankful to Dr. Pramod. हमारे पास टाइम की बड़ी शॉर्टेज है, आपका जो प्रेजेंटेशन है इतना बढ़िया। सबसे पहले तो आपने जितने भी हमारे जो स्पीकर हुए हैं उनको ब्रीफ किया, फिर उसके बाद में आपने जो पेडागोजी, जो मल्टी डिसिप्लिनरी के ऊपर एग्जांपल दिए और उसको ढंग से समझाया। आपकी ये बात बहुत अच्छी लगी कि अकॉर्डिंग टू द इंटरेस्ट, अकॉर्डिंग टू द नीड के अनुसार हमारा पेडागोजी होना चाहिए। ये बहुत ही स्टिक बात कही आपने। और आजकल तो क्योंकि मल्टी सेंसरी अप्रोचेस, पता नहीं कितनी अप्रोचेस यूज कर रहे हैं हम, ऑनलाइन अप्रोच, तो बहुत अच्छा आपने कहा। क्योंकि हमारा थोड़ा टाइम एक्सीड हो रहा है, इसलिए हम फिर कभी आपसे जुड़ेंगे और फिर कभी आपको इन्वाइट करेंगे। मैं डॉक्टर जयप्रकाश जी से कहूंगा कि डॉक्टर प्रमोद के बारे में कुछ कहें।
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू।
डॉक्टर साहब प्रमोद जी नमस्कार।
नमस्कार डॉक्टर साहब, नमस्कार।
वेलकम सर।
थैंक यू डॉक्टर, थैंक यू।
बड़ा अच्छा लगा आप हमारे से जुड़े, और सवेरे से बहुत अच्छा प्रोग्राम चल रहा है, काफी सारे पार्टिसिपेंट्स इसमें जुड़े हुए हैं, और आज हमारा इट्स अवर ग्रेट प्लेजर कि यू ज्वाइन और वेबिनार एज इनवाइटेड स्पीकर, एंड योर सेशन में भी अभी, क्योंकि मैंने ज्वाइन अभी बीच में एक बार मैं बीच में किसी काम से मीटिंग में आ गया था, आपका एक बार पूरी विद्यापीठ परिवार की तरफ से सर
थैंक यू डॉक्टर साहब, थैंक यू, थैंक यू।
Thank you, Pramod sir. Now I would like to invite Dr. R.S. Dalal, Professor and Head, Department of Political Science, Central University of Haryana, Mahendragarh. Dr. Dalal.
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, please.
Thank you. Thanks a lot to inviting me to participate in such a very relevant and contemporary topic organized by the JCD. I am really thankful to the organizers, particularly the DG, Madam Samim Sarmaji, Principal Dr. JPG, Organizing Secretary Dr. Rajendra Kumarji, and all the eminent speakers which I have listened for the last 2.5 hours, I think, or even more than that. Professor Nika ma'am, Steffi ma'am, and then Sushma Sarmaji and Dr. Pramod ji, they have my colleague and all other esteemed participants, particularly Dr. Vandana Nivedita ji and other faculty members from the country and outside. Really, we have discussed all the topics regarding the requirement of multidisciplinary approach or pedagogies, we can say, in pandemic periods, particularly in pandemic period, how we can meet out these challenges. No doubt in January or in March 2020, when this pandemic came to our country, we have faced a sort of crisis. What will happen now, and what are the way forward? I think our some esteemed colleagues, or particularly one of them was our Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Pramod ji, was also one of the members of the team, Dr. Sanjeev Yadav, our Dean Academic Affairs. They came out with a very clear-cut pictures how to we meet out these situations. A high-powered committee constituted under Dr. R.C. Kohad, they came out with the objectives of meeting out the pandemic through online educations. So I think these are the issues, and as Madam Varmika has rightly pointed out, in those countries, in advanced countries or developed countries, there are a number of facilities available. In our country, we tried and we did a lot, but still there are a number of challenges before us. Dr. Pramod ji has not only briefed all the previous speakers, both or including Dr. Smeem Sharma, he also give the different dimensions. Particularly when we come towards or we move towards a multidisciplinarity pedagogical approach, then we have not only to see the relevance or importance of the situations or the requirement and needs of the students or learners, but also we have to ensure how we can inculcate the skills in the students as per his aptitude, taste, or requirement of the futures. Another most important aspect, I am just going through a newspaper almost 5 to 6 days before, and it was based, it has published a survey conducted by our Ministry of Education, and in which it has pointed out that out of 40,000 colleges across the country, which we have presently, more than 56% of these colleges are single discipline or having only one discipline, and majority of these colleges, more than 60% of these are the education colleges. So it is really a very great challenge to us. We have not only to survive or sustain in the new challenges or new situations, but also we have to adapt and implement our new policy 2020, which is almost ready for execution or implementations. And I would like also to share with you that our university has proceeded to implement this new education policy to such an extent that we have not only prepared or revised our curriculum regarding the new education policy, but also other aspects, formalities we have completed. So it is really a very important aspect that we have to see how to implement, as Dr. Pramod ji has recently pointed out, that we have to see the content or topics in which we can proceed for multidisciplinarity. Not only it is possible to implement in all the cases. So we should be very specific. How and with which department, as Madam Sushma has rightly pointed out before me, that we have to move for the transdisciplinary, multidisciplinary approaches from the interdisciplinary to these. So then we have to identify the collaborations with other institutions, with other within the institution we have to collaborate with other departments. For example, if I talk about the Department of Political Science, how I can contribute to the other departments, law, economics, and management, or public administration, or other science department or streams also. So these are the points which we have to see. What are the viabilities, and in the new education policy, as well as the UGC and Ministry has recently also directed us to identify the syllabi that we have to teach in a blended mode, both online as well as offline, and we have also to identify which 40% of our curriculum or syllabi should be in online mode. So these are the tasks which the teachers or the faculty has to identify. Though I am not a student or teachers from the education department, I think I have also learned a lot during this lecture from the eminent speakers, as well as from other queries or observations which are made by other participants here. So, what I have experienced so far, I am is of the opinion that we have no options but to proceed for multidisciplinarity. ठीक है, देर सवेर मतलब we may be or we can do it as early as possible, or we have to do it with the passage of time. There will be, I think, no options. If we have to sustain, we have to survive in this world, then we have to shift our focus to the learner based education. No doubt, since I think 2014 we implemented the credit choice based scheme, but that still needs to further strengthen or widen the gap. So I think with these words we should I once again thanks to all our esteemed organizers for giving me the opportunity to be with you, and all the esteemed participants to listen me. I again once apologize for the irrelevancy or maybe some things which I don't think that I am the most competent person to speak on this issue, where all the persons are much more advanced me on the topic of pedagogy or that of the education department, because I have never did or learnt about the methods of pedagogy in my own career, but I certainly appreciate or recognize the significance of pedagogy. Until or unless whatever the quality of content we have with us, until or unless we are not able to communicate it, to transmit it to the learner, it is useless. And it again depends upon our method or skills to create interest among the learners. And that's what Dr. JP and his team, they are or Dr. Pramod and other education departments, they are paving the platform for this purpose. So once again, I thanks Dr. Rajendra ji. I think you are going late and I should avoid. Thank you. Thanks a lot once again to all.
आप क्योंकि ना टेक्निकल सेशन से हमारे पास जुड़े रहेंगे, क्योंकि अभी 5-10 मिनट के बाद में आपको लिंक देंगे, तो उसके हिसाब से ना बच्चे सारे जितने प्रेजेंटेशन वाले हैं, मेरे पास बार बार टेलीफोन आ रहे हैं, सर कितने बजे शुरू होगा, मैंने उनको 3 बजे का कहा है। तो आपने देखो सोशल स्टडीज फील्ड से होते हुए पेडागोजी को बहुत अच्छे से समझाया, बहुत अच्छा लगा। और डॉक्टर जयपुर
जी बहुत आपने नॉलेजेबल अपने जो विचार है वो शेयर किए हमारे पार्टिसिपेंट से। और अभी टेक्निकल सेशन है, उसमें भी आप शेयर करेंगे सेकंड टेक्निकल सेशन में। बहुत सपोर्ट रहा सर, आपने हमें गाइड किया। डॉक्टर प्रमोद जी से आपने इंटरेक्शन करने का हमें मौका दिया।
और प्रमोद जी तो वाकई में बहुत सपोर्टिव आदमी है सर,
और आप जैसे जैसे गाइड करते रहते हैं, हम आपकी हर विचार का पालन करते हैं। और ये सेमिनार बहुत बड़ा सहयोग है सर।
Thank you, Deputy. Thank you, Professor Dalal. Give me opportunity to be the part of that international webinar. Thank you, sir. Okay, sir.
Thank you, प्रमोद जी, बहुत अच्छा लगा।
प्रमोद जी, आप जरूर कभी
JCD विजिट करिए, डॉक्टर साहब की रिक्वेस्ट है, कभी आइए।
हाँ, मैं आया था सर, पहले आया था, जेपी को याद होगा जब इंटरनेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस किया था, तब प्रोफेसर इंद्र ढोल और प्रोफेसर अरविंद झा,
लेट्स होप ऑफलाइन जल्दी व्यवस्था शुरू रहेगी और देन डॉक्टर प्रमोद जी विल
ओके सर, थैंक यू ऑल,
थैंक यू
एंड हैव अ नाइस डे। डॉक्टर वर्णिका, व्हेन वी मीट यू definitely in next program, and when the situation will be normal, you definitely visit our university. Most welcome in our university, ma'am.
Thank you once again. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Our technical session 2 will be started after 5 minutes, and we will have to leave this.
Dr. Rajendra ji, you send the feedback to all the participants.
वो भेज दिया हमने, लिंक भेज दिया सभी
भेज
बच्चे।
दिया।
Thank you very much for invitation. Nice. Have a nice day today.
Thank you,
And
thank you,
very
Veronica madam.
succeed in your work.
Thank you for nice presentation. And we will remain contact with you. Thank you again,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
तो दलाल साहब से मेरा रिक्वेस्ट है कि वो जो है ना 5 मिनट में हमारे साथ फिर से जुड़ेंगे। दूसरा टेक्निकल सेशन का लिंक जोड़ दो, जोड़ दिया। हाँ वो डॉक्टर साहब से कह देता हूँ।